Hello and welcome to the What's New in Sitefinity 8.1 webcast. Thank you very much for joining us wherever you happen to be in the world. We're very excited about having you all here today, and we're very happy that you're interested in what we're doing with the Sitefinity platform. So before we start, I'd like to just introduce our speakers today. Joining us today is Svetla Yankova, who is the Product Marketing Manager for Sitefinity. Svetla's been a Sitefinity team member for quite a bit of time. You've probably heard her voice on other webcasts we've done in the past. She's got a great history with our platform and is very knowledgeable in what we've been doing with our technology. My name is Robert Matz, and I'm the Director of Product Marketing for Sitefinity. And I will be emceeing and going through some of the housekeeping that we have to do today. So these are the questions we usually get. Yes, there will be a recording of this event. It will be made available to all attendees, so if you'd like to see it again in case you missed something, or if you'd like to pass it along to any of your colleagues, we'd be happy to make sure that you get that link. If you do have questions, you are in mute mode right now, but if you have questions, there is a question field that you have that you can ask questions, and we'll make sure that we can address those either after the presentation, or if they do tend to get longer or very specific in nature, what we'll do is that we can address them after the presentation, and we'll take them up with you one-on-one after the presentation is complete. So, Sitefinity 8.1. Well, we're very excited about all the hard work that our development teams and our product marketing and management teams have done to make sure that this release came out. And really we focused on three different areas. So we kind of think of it as basically a three-legged stool. So we wanted to make sure that we increased the functionality and some of the features for the marketers, because we know that many of you out there use Sitefinity as a digital business platform for marketing, and we wanted to provide new functionality to make sure that you can get messages out, and you can also understand how people are reacting to your messages. And also with some of the advantages of our new Digital Experience Cloud that came out in our 8.0 release, we wanted to give you some tools that would give you some advice on how you can do things better. From the second leg of the stool, the IT folks, we know that really putting out these digital platforms is very, very challenging unless you have the right tools to make sure that you can span and scale properly. So we wanted to make sure that we give some IT tools to enable you to scale, whether it is multiple sites, whether it is the ability to support sites that are in other locales and other locations around the world. We wanted to make sure that we give you some tools to do that. And finally, for developers, and we know a number of you on this call are developers, and you're interested in how you can extend and build upon the Sitefinity platform and do interesting things with it. And we've got some tricks up our sleeve when it comes to that as well. So I think it's going to be an exciting presentation for all involved. And this is what we're going to take a look at. We're going to take a look at some of our new translation management features. We're going to take a look at the site sync improvements. Those of you familiar with our open source project Feather, we're going to have some technology that's derived from that project. We're going to look a little bit about at the mobile SDK. And finally, we're going to close up for the marketers out there for some things in the Digital Experience Cloud. And I think those things are going to be exciting to marketers and also for some of the technical people that just like to see some cool stuff. So let's start with translation management. So this is something we're very excited about, because a lot of the clients that we talked to said, listen, one of my big challenges is that I have sites and they are serving locales all over the world. So I need to have content that is translated into multiple different languages. And of course, you could have done it before, and Sitefinity did support multiple languages, and you could do it. Now the challenge is that many people said, listen, there's a lot of human intervention into this, and I'd like an easier way to do it. So what we did is we included some ready-made integrations within Sitefinity 8.1, and also the ability to do some things if you want to do it on your own when it comes to other translation services. So we looked out and we decided that a few of the different solutions that people tended to use are Lionbridge, so the Lionbridge freeway solution, and also translations.com. So we're utilizing those two services and also some of the technology from Clay Tablet to make sure that we are able to get you to really quickly and easily decrease the amount of effort it takes to do translations. And looking at a lot of studies that we've seen, what we've done can decrease your level of effort by up to 60%. Now, one of the things we like to do is make sure that we are standards-based. So we're using the XLIF standard to make sure that you can really connect to any translation service that you'd like using our APIs. So if you'd like to use the things out of the box with lionbridgeandtranslations.com, perfectly fine. If you have something that, another service that you'd like to use, that's fine as well. And you can use our API and our XLIF file export. In fact, Svetla's going to go into it and show it to you in just a second how it works. But you can see how you can easily do your own translation services if you don't want to use what we already have out of the box. So that being said, now that we've talked a little bit about the challenge that we're trying to overcome, now we'd like to give you a view of how it works. And for that, I'm going to turn it over to Svetlana Yankova. Svetla?
Thanks, Rob, and hey everyone. It really is a very exciting feature, the whole capability to centralize the broad spectrum of translation management within Sitefinity. And I'm going to walk you through the mechanics in just about a second here, but the essence of it is that we introduced the Send for Translation button. And this basically allows you to integrate with a service, very cheap, very manageable service from the wide variety of agencies out there that provide linguists and industry-specific expertise and people who understand your industry and your language in order to provide a meaningful translations. I know probably some of you have tried machine-based translation, and it's not a great way to draw an audience because they usually come out as gibberish. So this is a good middle point. You don't have to hire linguists to translate them, and you get a meaningful translation for a very, very cheap price using any agency of your choice. And I'll jump into a demo here in a second and show you exactly how it works. So let's say you have a website with a bunch of news articles. And I'll browse to the Sitefinity backend, and you can see that these articles right now only exist in English. This is my Send for Translation button. This is the button that I can use to send this to basically any language, in this case Spanish, and I'll ship this over to my translation management, and there it's sitting and waiting for it to be translated by an agency or an expert. Now, when I select these, I can go ahead and send them and export them to an XLIF file format. Now, this is a format that the industry understands. It's a format that Sitefinity understands, and it's a format that agencies understand as well. So this format is essentially an XML. Agencies don't look at this in XML. They usually have Excel Word-like readers, but a translator is able to take this and then say, okay, well, let me translate this title. Let me translate this description. Let me translate this, and this metadata field so it can work for your custom modules or anything like that. And once they provide a translation, of course, I'm just going to fiddle with the XML here real quick, but once they provide a translation and they give you the file back, again, as I said, not only do agencies understand this file format, but we do as well. Sitefinity does that as well. So once I have the file ready, well then the only thing I have to do is just import that file into Sitefinity, select whatever file was provided to me, and go ahead and open that. And once I hit import, I now know that these items are available, they are translated, and I can look through them. And I can compare them with the previous version. You can see how beautifully my text displays in Sitefinity in Spanish and in English. And so you can compare those. And again, you can preview this in action and see how it would look like in the live website. Funnily enough, my browser suggests a machine-based translation right now. An important thing to show, and just one little thing to show, is that we prepackaged this with 4 different integrations. One is the simple XLIF export that I just showed. The other 2 are Lionsbridge and translations.com, and there's also integration with FTP if you like. So all these are available for you as connectors. Of course, you can build your own. You can hook to an agency's FTP server, and then, you know, whenever the agency updates the file within the FTP server, you can just go ahead and immediately update that within Sitefinity. So that was a very, very quick demo. I know we have a lot of features to go through, but one thing that I want to leave you with is this entire idea that entering new markets does not require, a huge investment in hiring marketers and specialists in different languages. In fact, it may be as simple as managing the translations and scaling and outsourcing within an agency that provides, sometimes very, very cheap, very decent pricing in terms of translations, and you can get content into any number of languages that you want to support. And with that said, I know we have a lot of ground to cover with the new features of Sitefinity, so feel free to hit the questions box if you have any questions on translations, and we can talk about them later on.
Thanks, Vela. So the next thing we're talking about is site synchronization. So many of our clients have told us, it's like, listen, I've got all these different sites that are all over the world, maybe all different departments, different regions, different divisions of my organization, and different web properties. And they might want to reutilize some of their content from their master site to their subsites all over the world. And it might not just be the entire site, because you might want to duplicate sites and synchronize them for a number of different purposes to make sure that you've got things load balanced properly or in the right time zone. But it can also be, I want to reutilize my blog posts from one property I have to another property, and I just want to sync that type of content over. Or I want to sync a particular subsection because I share a product line with another division that I want to make sure that they have it on their site as well. So there are a lot of reasons that people want to synchronize their information. But the challenge is that oftentimes they want to do it at different times. They want to synchronize certain things during the morning in one locale and certain things during the morning in another locale, and they might be 3 or 4, maybe 10 time zones apart. So you want to be able to schedule that and have an amazing amount of flexibility. Now you can imagine the challenge there is that, well, what if something goes wrong? So we wanted to make sure that we improved our site synchronization features to make sure that we could handle all the different situations that have been coming at us. Because obviously, if you've got, if you need to do support with people in another part of the country or another part of the world, they're in a different time zone, you have to manage the support hours as well. So as much feedback and as much automation as we can give you in site synchronization, that's what we tried to shoot for. And I think we did a very solid job when we take a look at what we did in Sitefinity 8.1, because not only did we give you the flexibility to select what parts of your site you'd like to sync with what properties, but also we improved our notifications as well, and also enabled automatic retries to make sure, well, even if you're asleep and you're trying to do a synchronization, we'll give you the ability to have the system actually automatically retry that at the appropriate time. So you take a look at the graphic, it seems like a very simple feature, but the amount of variation that you can have within your site synchronization, and for those of you out there who have had to do this and had to schedule things on your own, I think this type of feature is going to be incredibly powerful and incredibly useful to you as we take a look at it. So with that said, now that we've kind of set the table, I'd like to head over to Svela so she can actually show you how everything works.
All right, thank you, Rob. And again, we're going to go through a very, very, very quick demo of the feature. But before that, again, I wanted to add on to what we're talking about. Primary use case for SiteSync is, of course, you have one macro staging environment, one staging environment that everyone works in. And then you could have publication servers. You could have live servers, production servers in Europe and North America and Australia, wherever you want. And these servers can show different websites, different languages. They can serve different purposes. So this type of, they call it hub-spoke model of being able to centralize management, but then deliver anywhere within different websites, different content types, is something that this new SiteSync feature lets you very granularly configure so that you can manage those synchronizations, manage their timing, manage everything that is related to them. So for example, if you have, your blog posts and they are being published every day at 9 a.m. Pacific time because marketing team decided that's the perfect timing, you can have that available. But at the same time, if your quarterly earnings need to be out at a specific time and a specific hour, they can be a completely separate synchronization and configured and monitored separately. And you can receive notifications once they are live, since they are very business critical content item. And that's just an example. So let's switch over to a very, very quick demo as well. Now, Now, here we have our staging and syncing capability. And here you can see the different production servers. Now I have 2 production servers and 4 websites syncing to them. And in the quantum example, I'm deciding to sync only blog posts from one website to one production environment. And I can have my scheduling configured at any cadence I want. I can pick a time, pick a date, and decide when do I want this sync to be scheduled. Now, if I go back to my items in waiting and toggle back to the other server, maybe a server in Europe or North America, could be somewhere completely different, the same website can sync different content items to that server. The point here is that you have a very, very deep level of granularity over the types of content that you get to sync and the timing of these syncs. So you can pick up to the granular content item, up to the very last content item, and configure a separate sync for them. And these syncs can be ad hoc, or these syncs can be scheduled, and whoever is responsible for when content goes live on the site can monitor that very closely. So let's fiddle with content just a little bit to show you how that works. I'll go into the news section, and I'll just select a few news items and go ahead and publish them real quick. So just so that my site synchronization detects new published items. And I'll go into my blog and just go ahead and create a brand new blog post. And I'll type in a title, and for now just leave the content empty and publish this. Now, going back to staging and syncing, and going back to my scheduled tasks, I can now drill down and see that my system has detected 2 items that are ready to be synced at the designated date and time. So I can just select this one blog post, and this blog post will be synced. Similarly, if I go into my other sync, if my other scheduled synchronization, I can change that and configure whichever ones of the 4 items that I touched, and then I can synchronize that straight away. So you have a complete history of what goes on. You have a complete way of managing and centralizing things. And last, but definitely not least, one thing that you can configure here is synchronization time, retries. And basically, you can configure things like how many times does a sync try until it just says, okay, we're not able to sync right now, maybe your production server is down. And then you can also configure things like notifications and so on and so forth. So yeah, that pretty much covers the site sync capability, and it was a very, very quick overview. And after that, again, feel free to throw in any questions. And after that, I wanted to talk about MVC. All right. So again, third thing, and we're moving from the IT hat a little bit. In the IT component, we had the translations management and the synchronization management as new features for Sitefinity 8.0. Now I want to talk about developers for a second. Now I want to spend maybe 5 or 10 minutes talking about some of the developer capabilities that Sitefinity 8.0, 8.1 delivers. And they really align with the MVC and front-end theme that we've been hitting on for the past few releases. Very, very big for MVC and front-end developers and .NET developers in particular is the fact that we're introducing support for MVC 5 and .NET 4.5, which means you can, as a developer, change your target framework and on a business you can utilize all the latest and greatest features of the .NET framework. So .NET 4.5 has things like async and await. I believe it has things like minification and packaging of different resources. Those are all features that you can utilize within your Sitefinity projects. MVC 5, as an example, introduces a very cool feature called attribute-based routing. So that is another feature that you can use within MVC development. Now, some of you might be aware of this, but we have been going on a mission to basically provide pure MVC-based versions of all the different widgets available in Sitefinity. So that essentially means we've been taking every widget one by one, starting with the content block and the dynamic content and all the basic widgets. And we're now gaining some really good speed and have covered most of the widgets available in Sitefinity in pure MVC form, which means as an MVC developer, you have a huge variety of widgets to choose from. Between 8.0 and 8.1, we've delivered 21 new MVC widgets. That's more than twice all the widgets that we've delivered in the past 3 releases. So the speed has been amazing. There's a lot of great new widgets available out there. They are also available open source, so you can browse through their implementation. A third thing that is added for developers is 8 new selectors. And to quickly explain what this means, essentially a lot of you develop the so-called widget designers. Widget designers are the little edit screen. So when a backend user drag and drops a widget, clicks edit, the thing that shows up is a widget designer. The old way of developing widget designers was based on web forms. The new way of developing widget designers is based on AngularJS. It's a very cool AngularJS framework, and we package basically a lot of sophisticated functionality like image selectors, category selectors, tag selectors, and so on and so forth. We package them in AngularJS directives, and you can use them with a line of code. So if you develop custom edit screens for your widgets, well, then you can use these selectors as a front-end feature. It's a really cool way. It's kind of like arranging a puzzle together with the various Sitefinity components, and you can get very sophisticated back-end functionality. And then, of course, we have some API enhancements. MVC in general, MVC development in Sitefinity sees enhancements with every single release. So a lot of new enhancements can be seen in 8.1 as well. Now, let me quickly go through again a very quick demo and show you some of these features. This is just a kind of a conceptual demo, but just to show you some of the widgets that are available within 8.1. So I'll show the demo real quick. And here you can see that our toolbox now includes so many widgets that they're now arranged into sections. I believe the total of widgets is 37 or something like that out of the box. And you can see some of the new widgets that are available, like navigation, category selectors, language selectors, a lot of improvements in the social widgets. Here you can see an example of a selector. This is a category selector, and again, this is one of the little components that you can use within your development. Getting a functionality like this usually takes you, just a line of code and some configurations to set up. So as I publish this, again, these widgets provide the exact same Sitefinity functionality. They work exactly the same as you would expect them in Sitefinity, but they're open source, and you can template them using Razor, using MVC. You have full control over their markup. Here's just a showcase that the target framework is .NET 4.5. And the point here is that you basically get to do a lot of pretty cool things with this. And one of the things that I mentioned is attribute-based routing. So take for an example a simple widget. I'm not going to go through the code in very specific details, but taking that widget as an example, one thing that you can see here is those route and relative route attributes that basically allow you to customize how the route looks like. So you can say sitefinity.com/books/1 gives you page 1 of the books that are available. Sitefinity.com/2/books gives you page 2 of the books, and so on and so forth. So you can manage that. And in the past, the alternative of getting a custom route like that was you would have to register it in global ASACs and do some kind of a regular expression type of thingy. So this is a new feature that's not a Sitefinity feature, it's an MVC feature, but we provide the capability and the support for MVC5, so you can use all those features. And one thing you can see there is I use relative route as an attribute. That is one of the little MVC goodies, MVC enhancements that you see in the new release, and that basically helps Sitefinity determine a relative route according to which page you are on. So if you drag and drop an MVC widget somewhere, it determines this route, and it sets you up from there real quick. So let's give it here a few moments to refresh. And you can see the result of that going on. It will go from one big page of book listings to a page that has different versions, and you can toggle between versions really quickly. So that is pretty much it. Again, I just wanted to give you a quick showcase of some of the MVC features. The biggest thing is just the sheer amount of widgets that have been added. And towards the end of the webinar, we're going to talk a little bit about how you can learn more about what's new, what's included, what exactly are the widgets that are added, and some of the documentation around that. But just expect that these widgets from a business and functional standpoint work just as well as the Sitefinity widgets, work in exactly the same way, but they are pure MVC, and you can use your templating methods and tactics with them, and they don't render any additional output. So that's pretty much it on the MVC side. And I know, Rob, you wanted to share some of the things on kind of the meeting point between developer and marketer in talking about personalization for mobile apps.
Yeah, exactly. And thanks. And I think when you talk about the MVC widgets, I think that the phrase that you used the other day, which I thought was fantastic, was the ability to sitefinify them. So to put them into our framework and give them all the power of what Sitefinity offers. So I thought that's something that should be in Wikipedia really soon.
Well, yeah.
The ability to Sitefinify, yes, with a dash. I think we decided.
It should be with a dash because people assume it's a typo in general. But yeah, the cool thing about basically any widget, and I know some of you develop with Sitefinity, some of you are just about starting to, but the cool thing about developing with Sitefinity is that a widget is a mini application by itself, and it's a mini application with a front end and a back end, and you have full control over both. And you always did. Like, that's not new for Sitefinity. What's new is just how incredibly fast it is to develop these widgets, how incredibly fast it is to fully control the front end, fully control what gets displayed. You know, the out-of-the-box widgets usually get you 80, 90, 95% of the way. And then you can use MVC, which, you know, you love, for the rest of it. And then you can use Razor to template it and control it. And then you get to use AngularJS to build these backend screens. So it's a really cool way to sitefinify your logic. And by that, I mean just package it, ship it to a business user so they can configure it and control it in a very friendly way.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something that I think it's a bonus for both sides of the equation. For the developers, it gives you a chance to do something really cool. It gives you some great tools to use. But for marketers, it gives the marketers like myself the ability to actually administer a lot of that great functionality. Stay out of your hair. You can do the cool stuff as a developer. I can do all the work I need to do as a marketer. It's really very much a win-win. And when we talk about win-win, I think that's actually a pretty good transition to our next topic. And we are going to try to get through this as quick as we can because we know there will probably be a lot of questions. We have hundreds of people on the call, and I'm sure there'll be a number of questions that we want to answer. So please don't be shy. Feel free to enter whatever questions you have in that question box, and we will try to get to as many as we can in the time allotted. But the next topic we're talking about is about the mobile SDK. And the interesting thing about this is that we've got these worlds of the web and mobile that are really coming together incredibly quickly, but a lot of the technology behind them sometimes tends to be a little bit more siloed than we potentially could want. So we wanted to make sure in the 8.1 release that we had the ability to do personalization and gather feedback from users no matter wherever they were. So if a user is coming in from just a desktop browser or a tablet or a laptop or a mobile phone, that will treat them exactly the same way, and we can give them the same type of service that they would get regardless of where they are. So think of it this way. So if you are looking for something and you start the day and you are sitting there looking at a tablet while you're eating breakfast and you're searching for something, and the vendor that you're looking at, let's say it's a new laptop. So if you're looking for that information, the vendor wants to know that regardless where you are, because if you look at it on your phone later on, if they could give you a personalized message on your phone, starting basically picking up the thread from where you were when you're on your laptop, obviously that's going to be very, very good for them because they're offering you a better direction to purchase something, but also for you because you're being treated as an individual. So we need to break down these walls in between the locations and the devices people are using and make sure that we can gather the information from the user that's taking a look at information and also personalize their experience coming back out. So that's really what the mobile SDK changes are all about, is really breaking down these walls between the mobile experience and the traditional web browsing experience, and make sure that we can service that user the exact same way, regardless of where they are and what they're doing. So, Sally, do you want to walk us through this a little bit, or do you want me to take it?
I can definitely walk you through through the quick demo here. We've prepared again a demo example of this feature, and again, the idea here is the two worlds of web and mobile converging, right? As marketers are able to track what goes on the web, and they're able to, you know, use that information to say, aha, this person is a gamer, or aha, this person is a developer, this person is a marketer, this person is in IT, well then we can add data points from a mobile application in the same way using the new SDKs. They provide a really clean, easy way of tracking different interactions, every swipe, tap, click, you know, just every type of mobile interaction, and they all go into the same database so that the marketer can decide if they want to use data points from mobile, if they want to use data points from web, if they want to use data points from CRM or any other environment. And then on the personalized box section, here you see a little pointer, and you'll see this in the demo, but the point is that these SDKs also give you the ability to show a personalized message in your applications. And mind you, they don't have to be mobile applications, right? They can be a custom web application built on Backbone.js that you have somewhere available, and you can tell your marketing team, oh, hey, by the way, I've allocated a little promotional banner space within the application dashboard, and this banner can be personalized based on the persona that you detect. So your custom applications can actually show a personalized message for your user, and this message can take into account their website behavior. I mean, that is some really cool stuff. So let's jump into the demo real quick, and here's the idea. Now, this is the interface for personas. Here's where you can qualify every visitor, anonymous or not, towards a persona. They clicked on a gaming video, they read a gaming blog post, well, they're probably a gamer. And so in Sitefinity, in the Digital Experience Cloud, you can evaluate this information and see, okay, I have 380 contacts. There's been an uptick in new contacts in the past couple of days, so you can look at that. Now let's log into a mobile app. This is a custom application that's built on the Telerik platform. And this application can do anything specific to your business, right? So if I'm selling notebooks, it can show me information about notebooks. It can help me manage my devices. If I am doing, you know, if I'm a bank and I have an online banking solution, this can be my online banking interface. But it does have a message kind of in the middle of it. And we can customize where this message lies. Now, I click on this gaming information. And right now the system realizes that, you know what, I get points for being a gamer just by clicking on that. Our John Doe user essentially gets points for being more like a gamer. And the interface indicates that. The interface shows and says, okay, this persona is most likely a gamer, and it doesn't even have any secondary personas. And the reason for that is they clicked a couple things on the website, but then this interaction on the mobile app tipped them over the 40-point threshold. So now they're officially qualified as gamer, which means if you remember the business-specific message that the app was showing, this message would no longer show. If I go in and log in once again as my John Doe user into the app and the system recognizes me as John Doe, well, then I get this gaming-like functionality where I can see this personalized message. And that is essentially the idea. Again, it's a JavaScript-based SDK, so it makes it really easy for HTML-based applications like Cordova-based mobile apps to be integrated, but it also has REST endpoints, so you can integrate any other custom applications to it. And the idea is really to kind of bring and bridge together the world of software and marketing, right? To bring together the mobile apps, the website, the marketing, as well as any custom applications. You have a cloud-based solution somewhere that is completely custom. Well, let's track what features are being used. Let's see what features on mobile apps are being used. And so there's plenty of different use cases, and towards the end I'll show you a blog post that talks to one of them. But the idea is to be able to really bring those worlds together and use them for purpose of better personalization, better understanding of the journey. And that, especially to me, is one of the most exciting features when it comes to marketing. And it's especially exciting if you have a lot of different applications going on and you want to bring them together. And a lot of clients do have that use case. But we also have a number of other features for and functionality for digital marketing that Rob is going to talk about in a second as well.
Yeah, thanks, Fela. So we've now taken that transition from this kind of the CMS into the marketing world, and we're going to continue that concept now because we're kind of walking into the world of the Digital Experience Cloud. For those of you not familiar with the Digital Experience Cloud, they're more familiar with the Sitefinity CMS. The Digital Experience Cloud is part of the Sitefinity platform. It is a cloud-based offering that, think of it as the brain to the muscle of the CMS. So the Sitefinity Digital Experience Cloud is constantly watching what's happening on the web properties, figuring out what people are doing on them. It allows marketers to set their goals so they could say, listen, I want people to buy a product or download a white paper or sign up for a webcast. And you can set these conversion goals, and the system will actually figure out what you need to do to get more people to reach the goals that you set. So it's a very exciting offering, and it fits in beautifully with the CMS as the brain to the CMS's muscle. But it's a bigger world. So it's a situation where the Sitefinity DEC needs more information. The more information you give it, the smarter it gets and the better decisions it can make. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to make sure that we can really easily pull in information from other sources of customer relevant information. So things like Eloqua. People not familiar with Eloqua, Eloqua is a marketing automation system. So when you get emails from a company, they're probably sent out using something like Eloqua. And it also keeps track of what's going on. How many opens did that email get? How many bounces did that email get? So it takes care of all of that type of tracking and does a phenomenal job doing this type of marketing automation tasks. Salesforce, most people are very familiar with the name. Salesforce is not only a CRM, it's also a Salesforce automation system. So it takes in not only the information about clients, but also it has information about the interactions that sales has with clients. So it is a system of record for a lot of those customer relationship and sales automation interactions. And also similar to that, Microsoft Dynamics. Very similar system when it comes to some of its core functionality. Obviously, they do things a little bit different depending upon which platform you're using, but it solves a lot of the same CRM-flavored problems. So we wanted to make sure we could pull all of that information in as easily as possible into the Sitefinity world. So we're going to take a look at that and how easy it is to start making those decisions on what to pull in to Sitefinity. So once you have all this information in, so you now know who your customers, you know what emails they've gotten, how many have opened them, what they've clicked on. You've taken a look at what they've looked at on the website, to Svetla's example just a moment ago, even if they're in the mobile world versus on a traditional browsing world. So you can take a look at a lot of information about who these individuals are. And the Digital Experience Cloud starts really taking a look and saying, I want to help you understand them better. So what we've added is not only the ability to take a look at all this information, but also segment it more intelligently. So what we've done is we've enabled the system to do demographic segmentation. And what that means is you could say, you know, this is great that all these people are surfing my website, all these people are getting emails. I'm only interested in the people in California. Or I'm only interested in people that are .NET developers. Or I'm only interested in people that are in the regions where I've got salespeople. So you can start segmenting down the information you're getting so you can start attacking those particular demographics more efficiently and more effectively. So this gives marketers the ability to do what they've always dreamed about doing, get more information about the people that matter and act more intelligently on them. And also the ability of basically the idea of what we put in the system enables them to do it without having to rely on the technical resources. So developers can go and develop instead of doing a lot of custom work that might be one-offs. They don't have to go and drag information out of a database. They don't have to create custom code. They don't have to do any kind of custom configurators. It's all there in the system for the marketers. So developers can do what they like to do, interesting development work. Marketers can focus on what they need to do. So the next step is now you've got all the information. Now you've got your demographics. Now the DEC will actually give you suggestions on what to do to reach your goals as a marketer. And what we've added in 8.1 is something that is really interesting, is we've actually added accuracy predictions. We've put a new layer of algorithms on top of the DEC that starts looking through the suggestions that the DEC figures out and starts thinking, which one is most likely? So that is something that we've actually integrated in, and you can see actually the screenshot here very, very cleanly, so you can see which are the most likely conversions. Now, some things might be easier to do and slightly less likely, so you might go with them. Or some might be a little harder to do, but very likely to give you a good result. So it gives you those variables that marketers need to make a better and smarter decision. So these are the type of features that we've added to the DEC within the 8.1 release. And to me, as a marketer personally, I find them very exciting. And certainly, can you walk us through and give us a quick test drive on them?
Absolutely, absolutely. So again, I'm going to show basically the three different features that Rob talked about. I've added a screenshot of the new dashboard just because I think it's extremely sleek and fancy, and I love how this dashboard looks like. But you know, let's walk through the demo, and I want to start with data integration first and show you just how easy it is to set a data integration. Now, if you have a Salesforce integration, which just essentially requires credentials, then you have a number of templates to choose from, and these templates are basically SQL, Salesforce queries that you can use. Now, you can write your custom one, you can write a custom queries, but we'll try and expose as many of the standard things like getting sales opportunities from CRM into Digital Experience Cloud. So we'll pull them, we'll save our data. We now find 5 records, 5 different opportunities, and we can configure this pool and run it now on a specific date, which means that all my Salesforce opportunities are now something that the Digital Experience Cloud is aware of. What does that mean? Well, now you can track conversion rate from website visitors to opportunities, which is a very, very, very hard metric to track. Trust me, I know. It's an extremely hard metric to track. And not only that, but you can monitor this. You can monitor and see that, for example, personalized versions of the homepage attribute most to it. And you can even add a custom report to your dashboard and manage your dashboard optimally so that if your first and primary focus is increasing opportunities, increasing sales deals as sales opportunities as a marketer, you can put this at the forefront of your dashboard. So it's the thing you wake up to every single day. So you can see the health of your pipeline, and you can even see some suggestions like, okay, well, the homepage personalized for enterprises attributes most. Similarly, and that goes back to our demographic feature, similarly you can track conversions that are filtered by a demographic. So if you only want to look at opportunities, or if you only want to look at registrations that are just in the United States, or that are just for developers, or that are just on a non-Gmail based email address, you can create this filtering and you can say, well, okay, our country here is USA. And you can see it has a really nice auto-select feature that looks into your database of countries. And I can create this conversion metric, which means that now I'm able to monitor the health of my registrations. I have a total of 26 registrations from the US, and I can monitor that. I can see recommendations on how to improve it with predictive analytics. I can see which resources attribute to this most, and I can see how it generally moves from a day-to-day basis, so that if my goal is to increase that, I will know what to do. The third feature is this probability of happening feature that you see here on the right side. So we do statistical analysis, but instead of bothering you with the specifics and the complex statistics, we just say green, yellow, red. Okay, high probability is, hey, we found a statistically significant sample of probably, 100 or more people that have an unusually high conversion rate. Why don't you use what you've learned from them? Why don't you use that from these converters and apply it to a bigger sample, and you can increase the conversion rates significantly. Versus when you see something with a low probability, that means, yes, we did find a segment that has an unusually high conversion rate, and you can learn from this segment, apply this, personalize, do some marketing magic on top of that. You can use this predictive analytics, but this segment may be 2, 3, or more people. It may be a coincidence as opposed to, just a statistically valid suggestion. So as a general rule of thumb, if you look at the predictive recommendations, if you look at the predictive analytics, browse through the ones with high probability first. They're based on a much, much higher volume of data. And then you can look through some of the more interesting ones, like the median ones and the low ones, but you can determine for yourself whether it's a coincidence, in which case you can hide the recommendation, you can click the little X out there, or if it's actually a valid rule that you want to act upon. You can make that decision. And with that said, I think we do have a few minutes to address your questions as well. Rob, did you have any finishing words?
Yeah, actually, I thought one thing might be handy is to show the folks on the line maybe some where they could find some more information. So is it possible you could show them a few things?
Oh,
Where they could look for
absolutely.
some more information?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, we can show, and Rob had that in the screen just a second ago, but I'll show how to get to it from Sitefinity.com. Is if you get to sitefinity.com and you go under products. And right here you can see a very useful what's new link. So that will lead you to the what's new page for any version. And you can see all the features available in this release. As you saw, a lot of features, a lot of content. So we've covered the basics, but there's a lot to drill down to. Now, as you drill down, each one of these features, or almost every one of these features, has a little link that links to either a blog post or documentation or just something that tells you what are the things available to you. And you can browse through that and look through these blog posts. We've published blog posts in our blogs. So right here under resources, and under blogs, we've published blog posts on most of these features that go with greater extent into the business value proposition and some of the use cases for translation management, for personalization. A couple new ones are coming on the way as well. There's a new announcement about support, which is another thing that may be interested to you as an announcement. So feel free to browse through those. And look into them as well. If you are interested into the very specifics of what's included and what's not in the version, you can click into, sorry, wrong link. You can click into the version notes at the bottom here. And here you can see basically much more details about what's new, what bugs have been fixed. You can see the links to the documentation. You can see the links to the feedback portal where you can include much more feedback if you want to. And in general, list of all the widgets, all the selectors that have become available. And browse through here. So with that said, we can maybe cover a couple of questions. Rob, what do you think?
Yeah, I think we have a few minutes for doing a few questions. So I'm taking a look through. We do have a large number of questions. Some of them have already been answered online, but we'll pick a few. I think there were a number of questions about some of the details with site syncing. And let me pull to one of those, and let's see what we can do there.
I see a question here asking about the domain names that the different multilingual versions can reside on, whether they can reside on the same domain name. So basically, if you have a multilingual website, there's a number of strategies you can support. Let's say you have a Spanish version. One strategy is that your Spanish version is something like this, which is kind of folder-like based. So sitefinity.com/es. And then the other one is, something like es.sitefinity.com. And then the other one would be a top-level domain, sitefinity.com/es. For the last option, you need a separate domain license. For this option, you need, a subdomain, so a separate license as well. For the folder version, which is another strategy that this supports, that Sitefinity supports, you don't need a new license. So you can pick and choose your strategy. Having a separate country-specific top-level domain tends to be best for SEO, but you can pick and choose whichever strategy you want.
So we've got a question, can you schedule and sync specific pages and content blocks versus all of them?
Yes, so there is Granular sync available as a functionality. So you can do that and basically just select whichever pages or content items you want to sync. You can be granular about content type, you can be granular up to the level of the item, or you can be granular by language or by site, and you can pick and choose between any of those.
And here's a lot of interest in site syncing here. Can we sync from our test environment to production as well?
Yes. Yes. So syncing from test to production, from staging to legal approved to production. You can basically configure as many syncs as you want, and with this new capability that allows you to basically create different schedules, you can even do some sort of cascading sync, right, where the syncs from, let's say, test to staging happens every day at midnight, but the sync from staging to approve happens, ad hoc, and it's not scheduled, and the sync to production happens every Monday at midnight or something like that. So you can do those cascades. The thing that Sitefinity does is just pick up the published content and understand if there's new content that's published, or, by the way, also scheduled for publish. And it will pick that content up and allow you to pick and choose which content needs to go to the next environment, and then it will get published there. If it is scheduled for publish, it will not get published immediately after it's synced. It will instead be published on the date it was intended to be published.
So here's an interesting question. I think I can probably answer this one. This is about, do you need, let me find it, yes, does DEC work only if we have a subscription to a vendor like Salesforce? No, absolutely not. It works standalone. You could actually implement the DEC with just Sitefinity itself, or even with a pure HTML-based website if you'd like. But you'd be gathering information only from that web presence. So if you think about the function of the DEC, its job is to understand the customer journey from where they are today to where you want them to get to. And as again, there might be multiple little steps in that customer journey. Maybe the end game is to be a long-term customer that buys a lot of your products. But to get them there, you need them to download a white paper, take a look at some web content, attend a webcast, do a demo, download a trial, something like that. And the key there is if you want to start personalizing their experience, the more information you have about them, the better off you are. So if you have information about who's already a client obviously that would enable you to do something. One of the demos that we do with a lot is where someone comes to the site and they see a banner for a laptop. But if they've already purchased that laptop, which would be information you get from your CRM, instead of showing them that laptop banner, we'll show them a tablet banner. So the more information you could feed a system like the DEC, the better off you are. But it can run with really any source of information, just like just your own. You can start with just your website.
Yeah, and to add to that, website is perfect if you're doing things like persona scoring. Typically, you don't need more than the website. Of course, a CRM might be useful to use certain things like their job title or anything like that, but for persona scoring and for qualifying people into personas, the website is perfect. And even a lot of the conversion tracking can happen with just website interactions. The place where something like Salesforce becomes valuable, and it doesn't have to be a Salesforce, right? We're just trying to support the more common ones like Salesforce and Dynamic. But the place it becomes valuable is that it lets you set conversions that are higher level, that happen in a way that no other system can track, and it helps us make the connection between those. We got an interesting question in the question box that ask, okay, how does that help me, let's say, as a developer, market my mobile app a lot better? Well, then your end goal, your end game might be to have mobile app purchases, something that's completely unrelated to what happens on the website. But here you can have a conversion called increase mobile app purchases. And increase number of logins and things like that. And you can set those as conversions, and the system will try and find out what part of your website, what part of your marketing collateral materials is helping you with that goal. So it doesn't matter if the goal is revenue or, sales or anything like that. The point is it can be whatever you want, and the system can be whichever one you want.
So we also got a question. It asked someone wanted to take a look at how you connect to Dynamic CRM. And so, I mean, if you could just give a description, I don't think we have time to go into that, but there's actually a connector for Dynamic CRM, but very similar method, whether you're connecting with the CMS has a connector, and we also have the connector for the DEC as well, so it's actually a very similar method.
Correct, absolutely. Let me just go back and show you here real quick. So in a much more similar way here as you're plugging data from Salesforce, from Dynamic, from Oracle, from Sitefinity and things like that. Basically, you can read through the documentation of how you manage the imports and how you configure the different imports, and you can define a type, you can define a query. It's much similar to Salesforce. I believe we haven't plugged in any templates of this yet, but they're coming soon as well.
Okay. And I think we have time for one more question. I think this one's pretty pertinent. It's about the DEC, how the DEC differs from analytics or A/B testing. So I think, so probably Google Analytics, as I'm guessing, is what they mean. So I think they're complementary, because the DEC adds a whole nother level of predictive analytics to what's happening, and it goes beyond the world of the website to what we talked about before. So people often use, and we do it ourselves, we use Google Analytics, and the way I like to explain it when people ask me what's the difference between Google Analytics and the DEC is, to me, Google Analytics is kind of like having security cameras on a office building. So you've got a camera in every single room, and you're looking at all the information and all the different videos from all these different rooms. And it doesn't matter, one room's not more important than the other. But what the DEC is, think of it as having an individual sitting in a room watching your most important rooms and making decisions based upon that information. So Google Analytics is important. We use it. It's vital information that you have, but to build on top of that to another level of intelligence on top of that, the DEC adds that type of level. And A/B testing is really, the DEC is a constant looking at everything, where A/B testing tends to be, I'm trying to figure out one particular thing. I'm trying to limit my variables so I can see if this one variable makes a difference. So they're all important, but they all have different purposes. So do you want to add anything onto that before we call it a day?
Yeah, absolutely. So to add a couple of aspects to that. One of them is feature specific, right? So there's a couple of features that I personally like to pinpoint in that comparison that are just not provided um, by Google Analytics and by A/B testing or such a B solution, which makes it unique and a very complementary solution. The primary one, and I think one of the most used features of DEC, and it actually ships with online marketing and above editions of Sitefinity as well, is this persona profiling. So that idea of taking all the data, all the noise that goes through in your data system of 100,000 users doing dozens of interactions on multiple different systems and making sense of that and putting this into a clean framework for personalization so that you can have clear personas that that you understand, and there's an engine behind them so that anonymous visitors get put into personas. And when they identify themselves, all the information gets consolidated. And you get persona-based analytics. So you see, okay, well, CIOs tend to hit this white paper most, and this is the type of points that they get. So the ability to get that just by having a simple scoring engine and a simple scoring sheet like this one is pretty unique, and it's also very, very useful if you actually want to handle an issue like personalization. So the connection to personalization is definitely unique to DEC. And the second one is the predictive component. Google Analytics provides what they call descriptive analytics. So it's basically a look at what happened. Predictive analytics is more of a look into what will happen and how you can change that for your benefit. So one complements the other. One gives you clear analysis of what had happened, where people coming from, which geographies and things like that. But this helps you say, okay, if I want to get more people from US, what should I do? If I want to get more people who are enterprise, what should I do? And it gives you, clear step-by-step instructions and recommendations on things you can do to improve that. And in the A/B testing comparison, the DEC can be your hypothesis generator. It can generate something like, hey, we noticed that this white paper tends to convert people very well in a specific segment, in a specific set of people. Hold on, not the right link to click. In a specific set of people. Do you want to do something like that? Something about that and use that for your benefit? And I can say, yes, sure, I want to do that. And from then I can act on this. And one of the action is conduct A/B tests to validate if this is actually true. One cool thing that I use the DEC for on Sitefinity.com is also to compare how A/B tests perform with longer term goals. So I can have an A/B test running. We've had a number of those running on Sitefinity.com, and you can have version A, version B defined as touch points. And you can see, okay, well, version A is less likely to bring new opportunities than version B. And that's a much more higher level goal than improving the bounce rate or the page visit. So a little bit of a kind of a bracket opening into the marketing world, but we do use the combination of all three a lot, and it's a really cool science of nailing all three together, and it's a very, very nice fine-tuned system all throughout.
All right, so with that said, we are 3 minutes past the top of the hour, so we appreciate all of you who hung in there and throughout the entire webcast. It's thanks for going beyond the full hour. So thanks you very much. We'll be having more information out. For those of you who were not able to get to your questions, we literally, I think, had hundreds of questions. We will get back to you individually, and we'll have some folks get in contact with you with answers to your questions. So thanks very much. Have yourself a great morning, afternoon, or evening. Bye-bye.